a ninth grader, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander struggled so much on the court that he didn't even make his school's basketball team. Fast forward a few years to varsity and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was still getting cut from that team. But that setback didn't stop him from ultimately becoming just the third player in the last 50 years
Present the Michael Jordan Trophy to the 2024-25 Kia NBA Most Valuable Player, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander!
to average 30-plus points per game on over 50% shooting from the field.
The lead. Shai checks, steps back, three-point shot on the way. He's good with 1.1 seconds left.
Feat shared only with legends like Michael Jordan and LeBron James. From an overlooked Canadian kid to rubbing shoulders with the giants of the NBA, this is the story of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, a kid from Toronto who did the impossible. Shai's story starts out in Toronto, where he was born to Charmaine Gilgeous and Vaughn Alexander. Before Shai could even dream about shooting hoops, his mother was tearing it up on the track for the Antigua and Barbuda track team. Luckily for Shai, he would inherit the athleticism from his mom, and as soon as he was old enough to pick up a ball, he fell in love with the sport. Even though Shai's mom was the star athlete in the family, it was his dad who made sure he got down the basics and also took him to some games to see how the pros did it. Once Shai began to play with the other kids at high school, it became apparent that he was by no means a prodigy. He didn't make the team at St. Thomas More Jr., which drove him to practice and hone his skills on the court. But unfortunately for Shai, he didn't get much better, and that frustrated him to his core, but that all changed when he met Coach Dwayne Washington. Coach Washington was the organizer of a kids basketball program, and with his help, Shai saw considerable improvements in his game, particularly with the screen and roll. Though Shai credits Coach Washington for sharpening his game, it wasn't until he started going head-to-head with his cousin, Nickeil-Alexander Walker, that his skills began to heat up. Both Shai and Nickeil-Alexander transferred to Hamilton Heights Academy in Tennessee to further improve their game, and while Nickeil-Alexander became an instant hit, Shai still struggled as a point guard. Seeing how he didn't have the best jumper, Shai opted for the passing game, but still managed to scrape in 18 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 steals per game. With stats like that, he was branded a 4-star recruit by ESPN and got picked up by the University of Kentucky. He started out the 2017-18 season as a reserve, which pretty much summed up how little hope John Calipari had in his skills. But Shai was never discouraged, and he patiently waited for his opportunity. As a player who always came from the bench, all it took was 15 games for Shai to show what he was made of, and he instantly became a starter. As the numbers started rolling in, Shai became a leader on the court, but the most important thing he did was never let the success get to his head. Shai continued putting out impressive numbers, like his performance at the final game of the SEC tournament, where he scored 29 points with 7 rebounds and 3 assists and 2 steals. He continued that momentum in the NCAA tournament, where he personally dominated in games against Davidson and Buffalo. At the end of the year, Shai averaged 14 points, 5 assists, and 2 steals on 48% shooting from the field. With such promising stats, it was a no-brainer when he declared for the 2018 draft, and sure enough, he got snapped up by the Hornets, who traded him out to the Clippers. Every kid who dreams of playing in the NBA imagines being drafted as a prodigy and immediately having an impact on the court, but Shai didn't have that luxury. Starting on the Clippers bench, Shai learned the ropes until his break came in Game 9, where he got the chance to be a starter, and that was all he needed to convince Coach Rivers to keep him on. SGA instantly became a team player, and by the end of the season, he had racked up 11 points on 47% shooting, with 3 assists and 1.2 steals per game. Just when SGA looked like he was finally settling down, one of the craziest NBA moments ever happened, with the Clippers trading SGA 5 first-round draft picks and the rights to swap 2 other first-round draft picks just so they could get Paul George and Kawhi Leonard playing together.
Paul George headed to the Clippers. The Thunder gets Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, a 20-year-old promising second-year player.
Even though the decision to trade Shai to the Oklahoma City Thunder shook things up, it did little to stop him from becoming a monster on the court. With an average of 19 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists, SGA was a totally different animal, but that wasn't all. We also saw significant improvements to his jumper, which drew praise from the likes of Nick Nurse. Just when we thought we'd seen the best out of SGA, he went and pulled off his first ever NBA triple-double against the Timberwolves. Now, you don't need to be a genius to know how impressive pulling off a triple-double is, but Shai was the youngest to ever achieve the 20-20-10 stat line in the last 30 years. With all eyes on the sophomore from Toronto, Oklahoma decided to shake things up in the offseason with the team, and this meant trading older players like Danilo Gallinari and Chris Paul. As SGA's mentors left the Thunder, he had to step up more, and on February 24, 2021, Shai scored a career high of 42 points to give the Thunder a 102-99 win over the San Antonio Spurs. Shai was looking unstoppable on the court until he got sidelined by an injury which ended this season. For the 2022 season, SGA always looked ready to explode for the Thunder, but minor injuries would stop him from reaching his potential. Despite that, Shai still finished the season averaging career highs of 24.5 points a game and 5.9 assists per game. A few years back, nobody would have even considered SGA as a high-flying superstar, but here he was outcompeting players like Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Entering into the 2023 season, the Oklahoma City Thunder were a completely different team under Coach Daigneault, who emphasized fluidity on the court and a tight defense. Daigneault made Shai the centerpiece in this team that would go on to see massive improvements all around. As Shai got more experience in the league, we began to see an improved playmaker who loved breaking down defenses with his ability to score from anywhere near the three-point mark. Not just that, but SGA had become a perfect 90s point guard, who knew when to push on for an attack and when to force that foul or rely on his mid-range jumper. By March, he had shattered Kevin Durant's Thunder record with his 48th 30-point game and helped Oklahoma City clinch the West top seed with 57 wins. Despite a playoff exit to Dallas, Gilgeous-Alexander's playoff best 36 points and flawless ball handling left fans in awe. He became the first player in Thunder's history to score 40-plus points on 80% shooting. At the end of the season, SGA joined the ranks of Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook as the only players in Thunder's history to average at least 30 points per game in a single season. However, it was the fact that he improved his season average from 24.5 to 30.1 points per game without increasing three-point volume that really made the analysts afraid, because only a handful of players in the league could achieve stats like that. It's no wonder he came second on the NBA's list of most improved players in the year of 2023, so it didn't come as a shock to anyone when Shai finished 5th in voting for the NBA's Most Valuable Player award and got named to the NBA All-Star Game. The 2024-25 season saw Shai elevate his game to historic heights. In November, he dropped a then career-high 45 points on his former team, the Clippers, and tied that feat against the Pacers in December. His torrid December pace of 33.3 points per game earned him back-to-back Player of the Month honors. But January was even wilder, as he set a franchise record with a 13-game win streak, followed by a jaw-dropping 54-point game, 2 50-point outings, and finally a 52-point performance. By March, he'd notched his 4th 50-point game of the season and became the fastest Thunder player to reach 10,000 points. Shai also passed Michael Jordan's record for consecutive 20-point games, tallying 72 in a row. Shai's regular season dominance culminated in an MVP trophy, making him only the second Canadian after Steve Nash to win the prestigious award. His season totals were mind-bending, leading the league in 20, 30, 40, and 50-point games, while becoming the first Canadian and third international player ever to lead the NBA in scoring. It was his 3rd straight season, averaging 30-plus points, joining the ranks of legends like Jordan, Chamberlain, and Kareem. The playoffs were no different. He led OKC to a first-round sweep of Memphis with a 38-point clincher, and in the second round against Denver, his consistent brilliance included a Game 7 masterpiece of 35 points with no turnovers, and it pushed the Thunder into their first Western Conference Finals since 2016. In the Western Conference Finals, he erupted with a playoff career high of 40 points in Game 4 against the Timberwolves, nearly posting a triple-double and securing a 3-1 series lead. In a league filled with superstars, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has carved out his own space with a blend of skill, composure, and sheer brilliance. His meteoric rise from a promising young talent to the NBA's most valuable player has been marked by record-shattering performances, clutch moments, and an unwavering commitment to excellence. Whether it was lighting up the scoreboard, carrying the Thunder to new heights, or redefining what it means to be a franchise player, SGA has made it clear that he's not just here to play.